another episode of Joey's Scarf. This is a knitting and crocheting and yarn podcast. And this is episode 36. Today is Monday, July 22nd. It's been about 5 weeks since I podcast last. And the way I do my podcasts is when I receive 200 views, that's when I do another podcast. And that's how I do it. So the last podcast just went up to like 203 views. So that's how I know it's time for another podcast. That's how I do it. And we are in the middle of a heat wave in Barnegat, New Jersey. Past 2 days, the temperature has been near 100 degrees. So Saturday and Sunday, we did not leave the house. Today we went out a little bit, and it's still quite warm out. We're expecting some severe thunderstorms later, and I think the temperature is going to cool off and maybe go maybe Tuesday or maybe Wednesday. It might even be like 70, high 70s. So I'm looking forward to that relief. I don't like the heat. I would rather have it cold because I feel like if it's cold, you can put a sweater on, you can layer. When it's hot, there's not much you can do, just stick in the air conditioning. So I feel like we've been housebound with there might as well be 12 inches of snow outside. Okay, so now that I've done whining about the weather, we're going to get on to some knitting. Okay, so some of you may know that Ross, my husband, has been going for radiation treatments. He has prostate cancer, and he is almost done. He's only got 5 more treatments to go. He started out having to go for 45 treatments, 5 days a week for 9 weeks, and we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So there was a lot. I've been going with him every day to when he goes for his radiation treatments, and I'm sitting knitting while I'm waiting for him. And so I finished a pair of socks during that time, believe it or not. I'm calling these my waiting room socks, and I decided to add a little Christmas color toes and heels, and so that they can become part of my Christmas box of socks, which I am working on. I like the way these came out. It's just a plain sock, no pattern or anything. It's my usual pattern that I do, and it's cuffed down, so I start here with the number of stitches I need. I start out, for me, 56 stitches on a size 1 needle, and then I make the leg as long as I want it. Then I put in some waste yarn to hold the place for the afterthought heel, and then I do the foot for as long as my foot is. When I get to the foot, I increase it to 60 inches. So I don't need as many stitches for the leg, but I do need it for the width of the foot. So I increase it to 60 inches once I get to the afterthought heel. So for this on, it's 60 stitches. From here down is 56 stitches, and that seems to fit my foot very well. Okay, the yarn is Kickapoo sock, and I guess their line of sock yarn is Utopia. Notice the spelling. And this color is Tapestry. And that's this. And then, I had some scrap yarn left over. Scrap yarn that I use to make the heels and toes. That's how productive I was waiting in the waiting room. Kept my mind very occupied and seemed to make the time go by faster. Okay, my second finished object is another pair of socks. And these are not waiting room socks. These are watching TV socks. This is scrap yarn. I don't know where it's from, who dyed it. I just know that I had a ball of this about, I don't know, maybe 50 grams or less. And I decided to knit them up into a pair of shorties. And I don't know what this is or what yarn this is. But I thought that they went well together. And what I did a little bit different here is I made the ankle leg here a little bit longer than just starting the afterthought heel right after the cuff. So I put some extra length in here, which seems to fit my foot better, and the sock stays on my foot better. Yeah, so these are watching TV socks, and again, it's nothing fancy. The same way I do all the other socks, and I like it. I rarely do a pattern because this is, to me, is just mindless. Take my mind off things, and then you have something at the end project. So that's my second finished object. Okay, my next finished object is something that I had stowed away for a while, and I was going to frog it actually, and that is this granny square blanket that I made. So I had all the squares, and I had intention of making more squares. I had 40 squares done, and I just got tired of doing them. Really, that's what happened. And I was making each round of the square a different color, except for the white. I did 2 rounds of the white of each, but I started out with the center of one color, then 2 rows of white, and then a row of navy border, and then another row of the same color that was here, and then another border of the navy. And that's what each of the squares were going to be. And I was just going to, I was going to have some kind of a pattern, but as you can see, they're all different colors. I got tired of changing colors. And, you wind up with all these little ends, and even though I try my best to tuck them in, I just got tired of doing all of the different colors. So I let it was, laying in my closet with all the yarn that I needed to make this. And I actually was going to donate it the way, I was going to donate the squares, the yarn, and let somebody else finish the project. But I don't know, I just got motivated to finish it. And what I did was I took the 40 squares and I sewed them together. So I had 5 squares across, 8 down. And then once I got those all sewed together, I decided just to go around and around and around with a border around those 40 squares. And that's what I wound up with. And I think it's really, really pretty and colorful. And I love it. And I'm probably going to pop in a video here to show you how big the blanket is, because it's really hard to do that. It's very warm. It's all acrylic yarn. It's all different brands of acrylic yarn, but this is a heavy, heavy blanket. After I finished making it and it was complete, I threw it in the washer. I threw it in the washer and in the dryer, and it just softened right up. And that's what I like about working with acrylics, with doing Afghans. Durable. This thing will last for years and years and years. And it's beautiful. And I made it. So that's it for my finished objects. that's quite productive. 2 pair of socks and an Afghan, I would say so. I have some works in progress also, and before I forget, I noticed that I didn't introduce myself. My name is Lynda, and you can find me all over as lyndagrace, and that's Lynda with a Y. One of the most difficult things, sidebar here, I find about doing this podcast, this knitting podcast. First of all, it's difficult to do it alone. So I'm just me and the camera. The second thing is editing, doing the edit of the video. Not so much the technical part of it, because I'm kind of used to that by now, even though sometimes it can be quite frustrating. The thing I don't like when I'm editing is listening to this voice. And I try not to be monotone, but I think sometimes I get into that monotone voice. That's just the way I am. So, on to the works in progress. Okay. My next work in progress is a sweater. An attempt at a sweater, because I start these sweaters and then I rip them out, but I really want to finish this one. And this is I think it was called like the 4-day sweater. There was a knit along by Olive Knits, and who is Marie Green. So this is called the Foxtrot Cardigan, and I really think it's so cute. But I did start it, and this is how far I've gotten. This way. So I am just starting this. I love the yarn. It's a pretty color too, and I am determined to finish it, because people have been posting their finished cardigans on the Facebook group, Olive Knits, I think. I'm not even sure, but if I find out, I'll put it somewhere so you can see. The yarn is called Scout. And I picked this up at my local yarn shop, which is Woolbearers in Mount Holly, New Jersey. And this is 100% wool. And it feels very nice. It's not scratchy or anything. It's a little rustic. The color is what sold me. And Myra, who's the owner of Woolbearers, had a sample of a sweater that she knit with this, and it was really nice. And the color is Strawberry Heather. Probably can't see that. This says Kelbourne Woolens, so I don't really know. I guess the brand is, I don't know. Those are the 2 names on here. But the website is kelbournewoolens.com. It's pretty. So I am going to definitely go back to this once I finish the next project that I'm working on, because I really want this sweater, and it's so pretty, and I love the detail here. And the instructions so far are really good and easy. I haven't had a problem so far. I intend not to get discouraged. Yeah, so that's my next work in progress. Okay, so my next work in progress happens to be another waiting room project, but I'm probably not going to finish it in waiting rooms because we're almost done. So, and that is the famous sockhead hat. by Kelly McClure, and I'm sure a lot of you have made this. This is how far I've gotten on mine. A little concerned that it was going to be too small. I think it still may be, I don't know. But I was knitting this in a waiting room, and a woman came by and asked me what I was making, and I told her a hat, and she said, "Oh, for a little girl, a little child." So I don't know. I've gotten some feedback on Instagram saying, no, it'll stretch. So I hope so, because I'm going to keep going on it. And I love the yarn, because I thought it was cool. Colors were cool. And the yarn is this. Namaste Uruguay. And the color is Cabernet. At least I hope that's what goes with this. Not yeah, Cabaret. I just like the pink and the black and the white together. So I have ways to go on this, and it's a work in progress. The yarn is very nice, and that's that story. Okay, so before I show you my last and final finished object, I want to show you a purchase that I made. And I saw somebody on Instagram with a product that I thought was really neat looking, and I went to it was from Jimmy Bean's Wool, the website, and I went to look at the product. I don't remember what it was right now, but I found something else that I thought that I would like to have. I don't know how you store your circular needles. I am constantly trying to find ways to organize them, store them by size, length, all of that stuff, and I have not found a good way to store them. And so on Jimmy Bean's website, they have a line of products called Namaste. I guess it's like peace, or I think that's what it means. I know I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's a portfolio that holds a lot of circular needles, and they have a smaller version which they call a wallet, and which is like a traveling thing. So I had to have it. I got it, and I'll show it to you. So this is the portfolio. I think it's like vegan leather, pretty sure. But it unzips like this, and on the inside are these plastic holders that you can slide your circular needles in, and they give you some stickers to put the sizes of the needles. It also has pockets on the inside to put, I guess, crochet hooks or something in these pockets on both sides. Are these little slip-in pockets. You could probably put double points in there. I don't know. I haven't used those. And then there's a zipper pocket on the outside. I have my Chelsea Yarns needle gauge thing. Slip that in there. And it's got a little handle. Okay, review. It's pretty. I'm not sure that it is practical for me anyway. Because you really can't keep, let's see, how can I explain this? So the way I have it organized is I have my size 5 needles there, and then all of these are 5s until I hit the 6, and then the rest are 6, and then 7. But if I take a needle out and don't put it back where it belongs, then I don't know what size it is. It's just not, to me, it's not practical. And I thought that I'd be able to fit more in here, which is ridiculous to have this many needles, but I do have even more than this. The way I was storing them, which I think actually is a better way, I would keep the original package that the needle came in, you know, the plastic sleeve, and then I would put them into a baggie, you know, and on the outside I would write down what was in there. So now that I've taken all of the needles out of their original packaging, there's no way to identify what the needles are. So I like this because it's pretty, but I don't know how practical it is. And then there's the smaller, what they call a wallet, and it's the same principle. You have these plastic holders that you they slip in through the top. And again, it's got the pockets, and they give you a little, it came with the labels. It came with a little notebook so that you could, you know, keep notes in. And they gave you a little darning needle. Again, it's got the pocket. Very pretty, feels nice. Probably for travel this would be good. I probably should have just gotten the wallet, and when I needed to go, when we would go someplace, I would have a place to hold my needles. They also sent a couple of pattern books, which was nice, from Rowan. I have some really nice patterns in here. So that was nice. And this one, I like this sweater. I thought about returning them, but I guess I'm going to keep them. They're pretty, in my opinion. They're not inexpensive, let's put it that way. I don't feel that they are. I was really hoping they would do the trick for me, but it'll have to be now. That's the way I'm gonna store my needles. We'll see how I make out. So I've been trying to organize, clean out, unclutter, declutter, whatever you want to call it, which is how I got to finish my granny square afghan. I still I finished the afghan, but I still had tons of acrylic yarn left over, skeins of them. So I decided to start another afghan, and I also decided to give away some of my acrylic yarn, the Red Heart, all the various kinds. I filled 3 bags, shopping bags, full of this yarn, and I donated the yarn to our community knit group, and they were very happy to get the yarn. They do a lot of charity knitting, so they were very happy when I walked in with these 3 bags of yarn. Now, I haven't been to the group in probably, I want to say, a year. When I walked in, everybody was very nice and welcoming me back, and I said, well, not really back, but I am here to donate some yarn. And they understood why I wasn't able to come right now, but they said, you know, when you're ready, come back, and we would love to have you back. And they're such a nice group of ladies. They meet every Tuesday morning from 10 to 12, and just very welcoming. And one of the women, one of my podcasts, I think last year I did a podcast with the group, and I went around the room and introduced everyone in the group and asked a little question about how they started knitting or whatever. And one of the women asked me, are you still doing your TV show? And I said, yes, I am. So she took down the name again, and she said, well, there's a lot of new people in the group, so I want to pass along your podcast to them. So that was nice. So I'm going to show you the yarn that I kept to do the Afghan that I'm working on now. So hold on a minute. Okay, so the Afghan I started, I wanted to knit something and to use up the rest of the acrylic yarn that I kept. So I went to one of my stitch knitting and crochet stitch guides, and this is the Ultimate Source book, and it's by Reader's Digest, and it's probably very, very old. Oh, 2003. So the stitch I chose to do is this one, the garter stitch triangle. This one. And see it better this way. It's a 16 row repeat, and it's actually just eight rows of pretty much the same, but they're offset. The triangles are offset, so it's 16 row repeat, and the even rows are purl. Oh, this is what it looks like. This is the right side. So this is some of the yarn I had left over, even after giving away 3 bags of yarn. I still had a lot of yarn left over. This is all acrylic. Actually, this color and this color are a Barocco vintage, so there's some wool in these, the blue. But the rest is acrylic. And I'm obsessively knitting on this. I don't know why, but I'm just liking knitting on it. We keep our house pretty cool, and so I don't mind working on this, even though right now it's very, very warm and I don't even want to touch it. But outside, out in the main part of the house, it's okay to knit on. But I think it's really pretty, and it's so squishy. It's really coming out nice. It's going to be really colorful. So, this is what I have. I'm working on this color. Wait, hold on. I'm going to get the other colors. Okay, some of the other colors I'm going to be using. This one. Decided to do some pinks. And more pink, and this pale shade of yellow. And this yarn is Red Heart, and this yarn is Karen. So I don't know, I kind of started like a pattern where I was doing a tan, a color, a white. A color, a tan, a color, a white, whatever. So in between, there's a white and a tan bordering each color. So a white and a tan bordering each color. And then a tan and a white bordering this color. I think I messed up with the sequence here as I'm looking at it. Anyway, and I was just gonna do blue, shades of blue and shades of yellow, but now I want to put some pink in there. So I don't know, I'm just gonna add some pink in there wherever. I don't know, it's gonna be pretty. Whatever I do, it's gonna be pretty. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on, obsessively working on. That's pretty much all my knitting. Everybody who's watching this, I just want to thank you for coming and spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I like the comments that I get. I appreciate that, so that I know people are watching. And I always have to mention to you, so that we don't forget, that this podcast is named Joey's Scarf for a reason, and that is in honor of my son Joe, who passed away from colon cancer in 2011. And I had his little boy visiting on my birthday. My birthday was July 1st. So he and my other two grandsons came over, and he's quite the kid, and so are my other two grandchildren. Having lost my son to cancer, having lost my mother to cancer, and now with Ross having cancer, it just always pulls me back and puts things in perspective for me. That's what my life is about. That's what's important in my life. And that's what I'm going to say. It just... It's not easy. But I sometimes feel like, who said that life is, that everyone lives this many years? Some of us have this much time, some of us have this much time. The time that Joe had, it wasn't long enough, but that was the time he had. And I'm just so happy that I had that time with him. That's the way I have to look at it. So that's where this podcast, why I do it. I do it for the knitting, of course, and to talk to you, of course, and to have reached out and have people reach out to me who have gone through similar situations. But when I do the podcast and say, welcome to Joey's Scarf, it makes me stop, reflect, and think about Joe. Not that I don't think about him all the time, I do. But this is concentrated about, in my mind now, about Joe. And that's what the podcast is about. So thank you for coming and spending some time with me. Especially now, I need this break, you know. I need to clear my head, talk about knitting, and know that you're out there knitting and talking to me through your comments, and I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to see, I don't know if we're going to get Ross here or not, but maybe a quick hello from Ross. I'll be back in a sec. All right, so here we are.
Oh, hello.
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 And we're surviving this heat barely.
Did you order this?
No.
I thought you ordered I thought you put a sauna or something.
No, yeah, it feels like a sauna.
I can't believe it. I mean, my legs are wet.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, I should try them. Anyhow,
So.
here we are. I haven't been here with Lynda in some time doing them.
Well, it's been 5 weeks since I did my last podcast.
Oh God, we're running out of time.
This lighting is much better than when I was in the sunroom.
That's because that's a sunroom. It's too bright in there.
Yeah, it is too bright.
This is cool because it's got your little new microphone
I
there.
know. I don't think it works, but
Hold it up. Well, here it is for this segment.
That's called a dead cat.
So that's what that is. I thought it was a dead cat.
Okay.
That's neat.
Anyway, we've been kind of hibernating because of the heat, and we found
Found an Australian movie.
it's a series, a TV series.
Yeah, TV series. What is it? 30 seasons?
Well, it started.
Around 1940.
No, it.
Go ahead.
It started. The TV series started in 2003 or something like that. But it takes place in the 1950s.
Right.
In Australia.
But especially for me, are the cars.
Yeah.
It's a long haul. It's about 100 years of time, and
100 years of time?
100 years go by.
I don't think so. If it starts in the 1950s,
It starts in the 1950s, but
it's not 100 years.
that's what everybody keeps telling me. I don't know anything.
Well, it's probably about 75 years, maybe.
Yeah, about 75 years, 1975. But anyhow, this series covers a span of approximately 100 years.
It's not 100 years.
Well, they start out right after World War I.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. But it goes through World War I, World War II. The characters have lived through that, but now
Right,
it's
exactly.
after all the wars, and it's in the 1950s, and there's a lot of prosperity and opulence.
And so on.
Yes. And you like the music.
I like the music because it's got great music from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
A lot of rock and roll.
70s,
Early rock and roll.
60s.
So
It covers everything. There are characters for everyone. Did we tell them what the name was?
Oh, it's called A Place to Call Home is the name of it. And it's on, we found it on Acorn TV, which is a
Movie.
it's a channel that you have to subscribe to.
Yeah.
Being a free subscription for a week. So I
So
started
that's-
watching this, and we've only gone through one season.
I got hooked on it,
Yeah.
listening over her shoulder because of the music.
Yeah.
And then every time I looked, there was another car that was untouchable collector-wise. There were MGs, MGTDs. There were.
I don't know any of the cars, so Jags.
Jaguars, a Jaguar. Oh, the old Jaguar Salon car from like 1956,
I think
57.
there might have been a Rolls Royce in there.
There
too.
was a Rolls Royce in there, one or two.
Yeah.
There certainly was.
It's a good show. We're enjoying it.
It's very good.
But so then I had to subscribe now to Acorn TV so we can watch the rest of the seasons.
So how much did you spend on it?
At $7 a month. But so we'll watch the rest, and if we like Acorn TV, we'll keep it. So we're enjoying the series. it fits
And
us because we can kind of recall that, not the 1800s, close, but the 50s
they
and
do
the
the
60s.
50s and 60s pretty well.
Yeah, it takes place in Australia, and it's just it's a way of life in a different country that we would not have known what the experience was like.
True.
So that's another reason
It was
why we like it.
It was a lot more rugged than you would think of Australia. First of all, we don't know anything about Australia
No,
because we live on the other side of the world.
yeah,
We learn a lot there. People are the same, no
Yes.
matter whether they're from the top sphere or the bottom.
that's
of
right. They all have to face the same kind of issue.
Okay.
Okay.
It's really good. I recommend it.
Okay, that's all we need to know. Okay, so anyway,
Yes.
one of the other things I do besides knitting, crocheting, playing with yarn, doing this podcast, watching A Place to Call Home, is I have a blog called Lyndagrace an Hour Away.
I remembered that.
And in one of my posts, I talk about, I think it was the last one, our CBD experience.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
I've
straight.
had a CBD experience. So we've been hearing a lot about the CBD stuff, which is a byproduct of cannabis,
Yes.
but it does not have the
In its
stuff to make you high.
in a diluted form, in its most its weakest
Well,
form.
they extract the
The oils.
they extract the healing property, medicinal aspect of it from the cannabis.
Right.
And now it's pretty legal all over the place. So anyway,
Well, Lynda didn't want to try it unless it was legal, and it was sold over the counter. Which, raise your hand and say, "I did."
I did what? I tried it.
You experimented with cannabis oil.
Not cannabis oil, CBD oil, which is
CBD oil.
called cannabidiol.
Can,
That's what it's called.
chamomile.
It is okay. It is derived directly from the hemp plant, which is a cousin of the marijuana plant. While CBD is a component of marijuana, one of hundreds, it itself does not cause a high, according to a report from the World Health Organization.
So that was our learning experience.
Right. So we went. You tell about the party store.
We
That's
went
where we found
went
it.
to a party store. Lynda went to a party store. I went with her, but it was like she just grabbed my hand and said, "Here, come on, we're going to try something."
All right. So we have this little local party store. It's owned privately, owned by two
A
women.
privately owned party.
Yeah, it's not one of the chain things.
No.
And she has that flag out that advertises CBD sold here. And I wanted to try it I'm a terrible sleeper. I have problems sleeping. And with all the stuff that's going on here, a little stress, a little anxiety, and this CBD stuff is supposed to be the miracle cure for everything.
Right.
It cures insomnia, it cures anxiety, it just a miracle. And I've been hearing so much about it. So we went into the party store and asked about it. And we walked out with $100 worth of products.
Do you realize how much yarn you could have bought with all that?
Yeah, one skein or two.
About
So this
two-
is what I bought, the gummies.
I'm going to have to try one of those.
Yeah, you better not until you ask your doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
So the
They
woman,
made a dirty face at me.
really?
Yeah, I told you, two doctors.
And then this is the cream for that's supposed to help with aches and pains, muscle aches and pains, arthritis, aches and pains.
I had some.
The woman convinced me to try this by telling me that
Her mother.
she was opposed to it. She didn't want to try it. Her partner tried it and said, "You've got to try this. It really works." The woman, let me tell the story. I'll be quick.
Oh, okay.
The woman suffered from anxiety. The woman who owns the party store suffers from anxiety. Her father was in the hospital, taken to the emergency room. She had to go visit him. She has a phobia of hospitals, illness, and elevators, all three of which she would have to overcome if she wanted to go see her father. Her partner, who was an advocate of CBD, said, "Open your mouth," and she gave her a gummy bear. And within a half hour, the woman just started to calm down.
Just melted away.
And was able to go see her father. So that story convinced me. She said to me, just take it like a vitamin. Every morning, pop in one of these gummy bears.
And that's probably how you should take them.
Right. So she said, you know what? This was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, you don't even have to wait till tomorrow morning. Go home and take one now. And I did. Mm-hmm. And I never felt so horrible in my life. I was nauseous. I felt like my legs and arms were like rubber.
Ah.
What?
Meaning they were relaxed.
I guess. Well, I'm not used to feeling that way. I have to be like this all the time. Yeah, like that. I can't.
I know. Okay.
So after that horrible experience, I was afraid to try it again. But you suggested I cut it in half. So the next day I cut it in 4 pieces. And I took a quarter of one and I felt nothing.
That's right.
Nothing. And I just wanted to tell everyone that you are almost done with your treatments.
Oh, thank you.
You've got 5 more to go. So we have to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, and then you're done.
DUNN.
That's right.
Done.
And it's been quite an experience.
It's one that I don't wish anyone to have.
No.
However, it's interesting because it causes you to stop and think. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess that's
Maybe
it.
I'll try that stuff tonight.
No, you have to check with your doctor. You're taking too many other medicines.
Yeah, I have toad, tail of newt, ear of dragon.
No. Okay, so that's it for today. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope you come back again.
Oh, thank you.
Not you. You don't have it. You have to come back again.
It's true.
You don't have a choice.
But who should I come back as?
Well, that's your choice. Okay, do we have anything else? That's it. So I think I have a lot of editing to do.
That's loaded with that.
Okay, so I'm going to say, let's say goodbye. Bye now.
Oh, so long.
So long.
Ta-ta. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.